What's up, guys? Even the youngest Porsche 914 is 47 years old at this point, and if the rubber seals are anything like my skin, they're cracked and in need of refreshing. So today I'm going to show you how I installed the main Targa seal, the bulkhead, the front and rear trunk seals, body and scraper seals on my Bumblebee. Now I did these over the course of a year, so you got to ignore the build progress around the seals. The front main Targa seal is shrouded in mystery, with some people thinking you need some sort of magical powers to install it. While it's definitely not a 10-minute job, it isn't especially difficult if you follow the right steps.
All right, so here's the A-pillar trim on the left side, and the left and the right do have different curves. We want to put a little bit of a sealing kind of surface between this and the body. So I'm just using some 3M strip caulk here, and I'm going to make a really thin line of it, and then just kind of layer it in. And that'll be our sealing that prevents the elements from getting into the car. So these crimps in here, those are from the factory. When the seal was in, they pushed it to crimp it down. You have to uncrimp it so that the new seal can go in. Just use a flat edge of a screwdriver or something to just pry it back up. It's not going to be visible from the outside. And you see the profile here. Here's the tab. This is like a pinch weld from the frame. And if you look into the profile here, you see that this slot is where the pinch weld goes. And then that hole is there so that the screw, which is found right about here, can be manipulated into the body of the car. Now, it's kind of hard to see this. It's not really an easy way to shoot video of it, but that's kind of what's happening. So you're going to see me struggling with it a little bit. And then just push the seal, push the back part of the seal into the channel. Don't try to slide it. It will never slide. You've got these screws here and it's stiff rubber, and it's really meant to be pushed into the channel. So you push it in and then you push it in on the other side too. So it's not easy, but if you take your time, it is not that difficult either. All right, so here's the seal. I'm going to start with this corner here. You'll see that there's like a pocket in there, and that pocket is where this tab goes.
Now from what I've seen, the newer seals don't have tab pockets that are quite as deep as the originals. So it's not that big a deal to just trim a bit off of the tabs to get the seals to sit correctly.
In most instances, you're going to need to trim this tab because, as you can see here, I'll bet you see how the tab is hitting up against this rubber here, and the seal isn't really close to the edge, quite close. It needs to come in a little bit. So I'm going to trim some of this off. And now what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of like pressing a little bit of the pinch in so it holds the seal, and I'll have to fight that while I'm struggling to put the rest in. All right, so I've got the screw in now, and I had to like manipulate the rubber, kind of twist it up, bend it up. I wish I could show this a little bit more easily, but can't really. And then you want to make sure that this little thin lip inside is over the edge, or under the edge here, so that we can pop that on, but we'll deal with that in a bit. Now I'm going to use some glycerin to lube up the track and the rubber so that I can get it more easily inserted.
You may be tempted to try and slide the seal down into the track. Well, if you want to be frustrated, go right ahead, but it will never work. You have to seat the groove in the seal in the back of the track and then push the front part of the seal into the track. Does that make sense?
Now we'll use some glycerin here to get both channels in the seal lubed up, because it's pretty hard rubber and you're going to be pushing this into the metal track. So we'll make sure it's good and lubed up on both sides.
Then I'll take that backside and then fit it right into the channel.
You see I've just got a little of this started in the track. And that's all you really need to get it going. So you work this plastic tool just a tiny bit at a time until we have success. This curve is the hardest part. It's definitely a struggle. It's not easy. See? Some little pieces in. I'll work on the next little piece. Once this curve is done, it's going to get easier. Still not easy, but easier. You can see how it's in the track there. It just needs to be pushed up now, you see. And we'll just work our way down. I got one of these large plastic tools from Harbor Freight, and they work really well. And I'm going to squish this in, just using kind of the corner on the edge of the rubber. Let's see. Work my way down, make sure that it's in the back of the track, and then just working our way in. I was kind of worried about this area because there's a pinch on the other side. Sometimes you have to follow up the screwdriver or some other hard piece to make sure it gets in. I'll take the smaller one and just kind of push up on the seal to make sure that it gets in the track. And you can see some of the soap that I used. Now we're gonna have to cut it off right about here. Every car's gonna be different, so go easy. It looks like it needs to be just flush with the track there. As you can see how the seal from the door is just fitting right under the track. So what I'm gonna do, just gonna put this end up here. Using a little sawing motion. Now that the seal is in the track, I'm going to start to work our way across the top. As you can see in here, there's a little space where the pinch weld goes, and the seal pinches and holds up on top here. So I've already put some of it on. I'm going to work my way down to the other side.
Now I'll step inside here so that I have a little bit more leverage on things. And then all I'm doing is really just pushing the seal against the pinch weld so that the metal part inside the seal grabs the metal in the car. And it may take a little finessing and going over a couple times, but it goes in pretty easy. Now I'll just repeat the same process on the passenger side A-pillar.
Okay, so the Targa seal is in, and now I'm going to put the lower Targa seal in.
The lower Targa seal is super simple. It just presses in and then you just trim the sides.
This larger piece goes into the big channel here,
and then you'll see that the piece here kind of fits against the lower part of the frame going across. So you just kind of push it in and then work it so that it hits home. And then just make sure that you peel back the bottom so that the trim is underneath the actual seal. Replacing the vertical Targa B-pillar seal is pretty much the same process as the A-pillars, but much easier. And I got this generously lubed up with soap, and I'm going to start at the top with this. Put that in there. Need a little bit of trimming or moving, but that's in. Now you can see that this needs to be trimmed just a little bit. And here's what you're looking for the vertical seal to not pinch against the door. The rest of the seals on the car are super easy.
Rear main trunk seal, that's going down around this channel here. Presses just when you think you have a press down, you got to press a little bit more. This is a classic case of a project that even the least talented DIYer could do, because you're just pushing this down onto the metal. That's all it is. So if you got a leaky trunk, water's getting in there, just get yourself one of these seals. Do it yourself in about 5 minutes, maybe 10. And this just kind of like pops in, but just when you think it's on, you need to push it down further. There, now it's in. So just make sure that's the case. And I love how there's this texture here as well. Just like OEM, really finishes things off. Alright, so it needs to get cut right here. I'm going to make a little mark, just a little mark, and then I'll cut the piece. And this is the bulkhead seal, same thing for the front and the rear. It's pretty much the same deal, only it goes along that edge. And I like to do it so that the little flange bends backwards towards the rear. Now in the front, it goes along the bulkhead line there. Unfortunately, with a black car, everything looks dirty, but it really isn't. It's just the way it looks on video, unfortunately. So don't judge, okay? Now I'm putting the flange towards the hinge here. For the front trunk seal, I'll use some 3M weather strip adhesive to help keep the seal in place. And this is the stuff to keep that seal down in the front. Basically any weather strip seal. 3M black super weather strip and gasket adhesive. Boy, whoever came up with the name for that wasn't super creative, but it works. Now this adhesive requires you to put a little bit on both sides and let it tack up. What I'm going to do is start this seal installation in the corner here by the headlight bucket, because that's kind of a fixed point in the seal and on the car, and then I'll just work my way across. The seal is like one giant loop, so it's definitely helpful to start in that corner and then do the longer runs. There's something very zen about this process, about getting all the adhesive on and then the satisfaction of taking that seal and pressing it in. And it does have kind of a satisfying pop when it hits home. You don't want it to bubble up or have any kind of waves or anything in here, because it is a closed loop seal. So if you have any spots where there's extra material popping up, it
it may not be long enough when you get to the other side, if that makes sense. Here's the completed installation. You can see that it kind of goes up and across. So this is the largest single piece seal in the car. Helps to just start it in the corners and then work your way around. This is the sneakiest seal on the car. It's the scraper seal, or squeegee some people call it. And it's counterintuitive how you have to install it. You think you should do it with the window up, but the window needs to be all the way down. And then the trick is you turn the seal almost completely horizontal and let the little rounded profile kind of snap into the track. But that seal should be almost flat. Then once you get all the way to the end, you're going to want to just trim it and make sure that it's really tight up against the little end piece there so that you don't get a lot of water intrusion. And again, that'll just pop into that little channel. And you can see how horizontal it is there. But once the window goes up, it'll be tight. So we have it in here, but you can see that there's a little like warbliness. See how it's a little like bumpy. It's a little bumpy in here. So I'm going to take a credit card and just slide it in to pull it out. And of course, the perfect credit card to do that. Voila! No more bumps. Now, we roll up the window. You'll see how that squeegee just sits right up against it. See there? You can see with the glass up, the squeegee is pushing perfectly against it and preventing water from getting into the car. Okay, bonus points if you know what this rubber piece is. Now, it separates the fender from the cowl here, and it just kind of pushes into the slot, into the gap. I'm gonna make it a little bit long on this side here and cut it back. Replacing the seals is a job that anyone can do. You just have to take your time, use the right tools, and make sure you measure at least twice before you cut. Please subscribe and check out my other 914 restoration videos if you like this one. Be safe and enjoy.